You hear the legends whispered around campfires, but what happens when a national park ranger confirms the fear? Tonight, we have one of the most unsettling first-person accounts that we've ever shared. Before we start Ranger Vance's patrol, show your support for these terrifying true stories by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Now turn off the lights, settle in, and prepare for the silence of the dunes. My name is Ranger Elara Vance, and I work in the Great Sand Dunes National Park and Preserve in Colorado. Most people think of the dunes as a massive sandbox, a playground framed by the purple peaks of the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. They don't realize the place breathes, shifts, and sometimes watches. I knew the official risks: flash floods in Medano Creek, 100-degree heat, the dehydration. But the risks that truly unsettled me were the ones you couldn't put in a first aid kit. The local lore, specifically the tale of the Shadow-Stalker. The Shadow-Stalker isn't an animal or a simple ghost. It's the spirit of a prospector, they say, who went mad from sunstroke and isolation back in the early 1900s. He searched for water until he dissolved into the landscape itself. His torment wasn't death, it was the endless search, and his spirit now haunts the massive shifting dunes. The legend says he doesn't harm you physically, he just watches. And if you stare back for too long, his madness begins to settle into you, like fine sand grating on your soul. I never truly believed it, not until the night of the full moon in October. It was my turn for the late Western Perimeter Patrol. The park's main access road was long closed, and the only vehicle moving was my standard issue 4x4. I stopped near the UT Mountains access point, far from any paved road. The engine ticked as it cooled, and then the silence came crashing in. It wasn't a peaceful quiet. It was an oppressive, heavy stillness, the kind that makes your ears feel pressurized. The full moon was an absolute searchlight, turning the dunes into vast blue-white sculptures. It was breathtaking, but in a way that steals your breath and leaves you gasping. I grabbed my LED spotlight. It can cut through just about anything, and aimed it up the flank of Star Dune, one of the tallest in the park. My duty was to make sure that no one had bypassed the closure signs to hike in the dark. The beam hit the peak of the dune, a point of over 700 feet above the valley floor, and that's when my blood turned to ice. Standing perfectly silhouetted against the brilliant moon was a figure. It was too tall to be a hiker, too gaunt to be a normal person. It had the shape of a man, but stretched like a shadow at noon. Utterly and unnervingly still. It was just standing there, looking down directly at me. I fumbled for the radio, my hand shaking so badly I almost dropped the headset. Stay rational, Elara, I thought. It's a tourist who ignored the signs. Just a damn idiot. Dispatch, this is Ranger Vance. I tried to keep my voice steady. I have a possible trespasser on Star Dune, Grid 4C, requesting a visual from the visitor center's thermal camera. A moment of static, and then dispatcher Sarah's calm voice. Copy, Ranger Vance. Checking thermal now. Wait 1. Negative, Vance. There is nothing on the thermal signature. The whole area is cold. Are you sure you're not seeing a rock formation? No, I whispered, staring at the perfect, impossible blackness against the moonlight. It's a figure. It's too well defined. I knew Sarah wouldn't press me. She'd heard the stories. 2. She knew that some things in the park didn't show up on IR cameras. I lowered the radio, my heart slamming against my ribs, like a fist against a door. The figure hadn't moved. It was a couple of football fields away, and yet I could still feel the weight of its gaze as palpably as a hand on my shoulder. It was the surveillance of a desperate, patient soul. I forced myself to try the official protocol. I grabbed the truck's bullhorn. "This area is closed. Please descend immediately. I am a park ranger and I will issue a citation." The sound was massive, echoing in the huge natural bowl of the dunes. It boomed and then faded, leaving the silence even heavier than before. The figure didn't flinch. It didn't react at all, except for one tiny, terrifying motion. It tilted its head. Slowly, in a natural, mechanical angle that wasn't curiosity or confusion. It was interest. The deep, hollow interest of something that hadn't seen a living soul in decades. That was the moment that I realized it wasn't a human. Humans react to noise, light, and authority. The Shadow-Stalker only reacts to you. I scrambled back into the driver's seat, fumbling with the keys. My entire rational mind was screaming that I was being absurd, but my gut was screaming louder to flee. I slammed the 4x4 into gear. The tires spun, spraying sand before they finally gripped. As I fishtailed the truck around, I risked one final glance in the rearview mirror. The silhouette was gone. I didn't slow down for 5 full minutes, driving as if the Jeep itself were on fire. I finally pulled over near the entrance station, where the streetlights offered a tiny, weak reassurance of civilization. I took deep, shuddering breaths, trying to regain control. I was about to dismiss the entire experience as exhaustion and light tricks when I looked down at my truck's hood. It was dusty from the dry road as expected, but right in front of the windshield, someone had been very neat. There was a perfect small circle of fine, bone-dry sand. Inside the circle rested a single object, a smooth, obsidian black pebble. It was volcanic, entirely wrong for the quartzite dunes. But what shattered my composure was the detail surrounding the circle. Etched into the fine dust of the hood, as lightly as a feather, were 4 distinct elongated lines, like the skeletal fingers of a hand that had just finished drawing a circle. I had been outside the vehicle for maybe a minute, tops. The Shadow-Stalker was supposedly hundreds of yards away, on the peak of a mountain of sand. Yet somehow, it had crossed that distance. It had left its mark, a calling card. A message that said, "I saw you, and you looked back." I didn't touch it. I didn't get out of the truck again. I put my foot down on the gas pedal and drove straight to the park housing, leaving the pebble, the circle, and the 4 scratch lines to be scoured away by the morning wind. But to this day, when the moon is full, I don't stop my truck on the western perimeter. I just drive past, and I can always feel the pressure, the cold, patient, ancient pressure. Something standing at attention on the highest dune, waiting for me to look up and meet its endless, maddening gaze. Ranger Vance's story truly chills you to the bone, not because of a sudden attack, but because of that cold, patient watchfulness. That idea that something was looking at her from hundreds of feet away, yet managed to leave that black pebble and those 4 skeletal scratch marks right there on her hood. It's the kind of subtle horror that lingers long after you turn out the lights. What do you think the Shadow-Stalker is? Was it the spirit of the prospector, or something ancient and darker lurking in the sands? Let us know what you think in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into scary national park stories, please help us by giving this video a thumbs up and subscribing for more terrifying first-hand accounts. Thank you for tuning in, and as always, stay safe out there. You never know who or what is standing at attention just beyond the light.